right, welcome back, viewers, to our episode number 9, which is very special because we have Mr. Brandon Rose with us again. And as you know, Brandon has his own luxury e-commerce brand called the Rose Gold Apparels, and he knows all about setting up for an e-commerce brand from ground up. And at the moment, he's working on a very special project that he would like to talk about, and we would be discussing on how the different challenges that we face in setting up an e-commerce brand and how to scale it up. Right, Brandon?
Awesome.
So I'll let you take over from here.
Well, first off, I appreciate you guys having me back on. Do this again. Yeah, so I guess kind of how it started was so I had Rose Gold Apparel, which was my first company. And as you guys know, it's never kind of the first venture. It's very rare the first venture is the one that is successful. But I had Rose Gold Apparel. I learned a lot. And then I worked for another company. And that's kind of where I started to hone in more of my digital marketing abilities, right? And so then from there, I branched off and started my own digital marketing agency. And so this company is interesting because with the digital marketing background, I then, I can tell you that the company is in like the timepiece industry. And I have a very, strong passion for timepieces, and I've been collecting them for a while. And it's one of those things that started as kind of a side project where I took my expertise and kind of paired it with my passion. And so obviously I knew how to build a website, right? So I built a website, and it was really fun and kind of more of a project just to kind of test to see what I can do just based off SEO and just kind of, raw digital marketing skills. Right. And so I sourced some products, did some testing, those kinds of things. But then a day or two after being on Google, we got suspended. So it kind of took the wind out of my sails, and I kind of put it on hold for, 3-4 months. But I work very closely with a mentor that also has done multiple seven figures in e-commerce as well. And I was kind of working through him. He started mentioning different things about how to find, a low cost product with high margins in a niche industry. And that's kind of where everything started to click. And it's a space that I know very well. It's very community driven, right? With Facebook groups, and they're very active. They love posting. But that's when I started looking at like content is important, right? Well, people with watches, once they get a watch, they take a picture of it, right? So you start realizing that, and with advertising that UGC or user generated content is the most valuable. And then you start looking at cost per clicks decrease, or sorry, yeah, it's a better cost per click with videos versus pictures. And a lot of people do wrist rolls and stuff like that. So all these things started to kind of form together. And I think I was kind of onto something. And so that's when we really kind of dove in the past few months more into the R&D of the product, making sure it was a good product. And now with the soft launch, month one, we're very profitable and continuing to grow, getting great feedback, great communities.
Over here. So, I mean, it's a common question with a lot of our clients who are beginning their e-commerce business is identifying the right product. So, what is the key to identifying the right product? Because if your product is not right, your business is not right. Correct. So,
Yep.
like, what is the key? Like you said, you were into the timepiece business and you got into it and you identified the gap over there. And so, like about a product which has low cost and high value, right? So, how does one go about it? Like, what is the formula to it? Is there a cookie cutter approach, or there is no formula to it? It just happens to be good.
Yeah. So for me, I find that I've watched a lot of videos and watched a lot of, gurus and stuff like that. And they always give different tips and tricks, but I've kind of found that it's, it's not necessarily, it's almost got to come to you. You just got to try enough things and it'll eventually click, in my opinion, because I've tried multiple things before. And obviously I personally feel like the fashion brand that I originally started was something that I was insanely passionate about. But for me, I think finding the right product, it's identifying a lot of those key metrics. And if you have something you're passionate about that fits into all of those, I think then it makes sense and you go all in. And what I mean by that is finding when you have customers that typically have a higher net worth, right, to spend the money, and then you have a product that adds value to what they enjoy, that they're willing to spend the money on, and the margins make sense. It's incredible, and I'm sure I don't know if many people have like I don't know if you have, for example, but like Alibaba and the products from China,
Yeah,
it's amazing what you can do
right,
with
right.
Right.
at the cost. And a lot of people kind of go on to Alibaba and AliExpress and they just buy the stock stuff. I went a different avenue, and I actually found a person. He's an American here in America, but has a team and an office in Shenzhen in China. And so I
Oh,
personally kind of have feet on the ground to help kind of the R&D and the manufacturing process, because I find there's a lot of stock things on Alibaba and everything, but it's not the highest quality, you know? And so for me, I took basically what they had at the base level and just innovated a little bit more onto it to where I feel like I can, deliver a premium product. And some people will find things on Alibaba for, $1 and be like, well, I can sell it for $50, right? Where I took that $1 item and added $10 to it. You know what I mean? So my cost is significantly higher based off percentages wise. But
right.
now the retail aspect that I have is much higher, right? And the value that I can provide is much higher. And it's tough because it's not a clear answer when it comes to finding a
So
good
when you
product.
say you added $10 to it, that means you added some value to it, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And it wasn't, and $10 wasn't, I mean, that's not the exact amount, but I'm saying that I took what could have been my cost and
I get the message. Yes, yes.
I
So
Okay.
10x, right?
that
But I
$10 is
took
the added value to your product so that you can charge the premium to your customer, right?
exactly. Because I'm also more about, there is ways to, you can make a lot of money by selling a product. I feel like
Correct.
there's more longevity in selling a brand. You know what I mean? You can
Correct.
build more of a community. It's more sustainable. And I also feel like it's easier to sell. Investors and everything like that aren't going to come in for just a hot product. But if there's a
Right.
brand community around it, they will. And kind of back to how I'm bootstrapping this thing is a lot of it came from just organic SEO. I did a ton of blogs, a lot of DMs, a lot of influencers, and that's another cool thing about this industry and something to keep in mind is the influencer aspect because they're very
Correct.
important and not from the sense of them posting to their audience anymore. I think that's kind of died. It's more about getting the content that they take and repurposing it as ads. And so that's an avenue that I've kind of jumped into, as well as like creating Facebook groups as well and starting to
Right.
make.
This is very interesting what you just tell. So here, like, I would like to ask you some questions that our audience, basically, who our clients and the other people into digital marketing who watch our episodes, they constantly ask us, okay, so they came to us, Ashwin and Anmol, you have worked previously with e-commerce brands. So you already know how it works. So will this help, will this guarantee the success of my e-commerce brand that I am bringing to you? So I would like to talk to you a bit about that because this is a question that clients constantly ask us. We answer them, but here, like you are into this, you have experience on hand working with your own multiple e-commerce brands. So you answer this question for us, for our audience.
Yeah, so I think what it comes down to really is like it's going to take a lot of work as well, and I don't think people like hearing that answer. But that's where it
Correct.
comes back to if you find something you're passionate about, it doesn't necessarily have to be like your passion, but something that you enjoy doing on a daily basis. It makes it a lot easier to put in that extra work. And so for me, I love talking about watches and looking at watches. So it's a lot easier for me to reply to DMs and create a community and talk about it because it's something that I do on the daily basis anyway. And I think that's kind of where it kind of slipped in together. And what was your exact question again? Sorry.
So my question is basically, Brandon, when clients, basically prospects come to us, they always ask us, Anmol and Ashwin, you have worked with this brand previously. This is your case study. You do the same for us. Basically, they say that you have worked for these brands in the past. You have done, this is your success case study. So I think what you have done there, you can do the same for me. So I want you to answer that question from a perspective of the product as well. Then it depends on if people are liking or not. So all of those aspects I want you to cover here step by step.
Yeah, and it's tough, right? Because every industry is different, every product's different. And what I've kind of realized too, which is to me, which is exciting, is it only takes like, well, not only, but one piece of content, one post, one blog, you're only one step away from really breaking out. And I saw that with our ads, right? Our ads were kind of working. Then we had one creative that an influencer took for us that we repurposed as an ad. It's taken off, and so it's really interesting. And that's where it's like if you can start getting two, three, four, five more pieces of content like that, that's where you can start to shape something that I thought would work. It didn't, right? But then I had an influencer take the content and it did work. So I think it comes down to testing, and I think any decision that could be made from data should be made from data. And so that's something that I'm trying to. Obviously, I'm doing the work and I'm involved, but I sometimes try to step back And one thing I've implemented with this company, which is different, is about a day a week, I turn off my phone. Well, not the whole day, but like for a few hours in the evening, I'll turn off my phone, quiet, and I'll just sit outside and just think. And it's important to take a step back, I think, because there's so many things that need to be done on the day to day. And it's very, you guys know, right? Starting a business, it's very ADD. You got to do this, you got to do this. Things come up and you have to do it immediately. So it's easy to get distracted. And I think it's very important to take the time to step back and look from an overall spectrum of like what's important, what can I outsource? What am I going to be doing on the daily, regardless? If we're doing $1 million a day, what am I still going to be working on? And I think it's very easy to kind of repurpose the priorities, but every brand's going to be different. It just really is, right? And it's how much work someone's willing to put into it. I've personally found that you have to put in especially more work in the beginning because ads aren't going to take off for you. And like we just discussed, there was a slip up with Facebook or something this past week.
Yes, exactly. So tell, I would like to educate our audience on this, because most of our clients, they are coming to us, Anmol, the ad is not working. Anmol, that ad is not. It was working previously. What happened this week? So these kind of questions I am getting from my clients. So please tell little bit more about what Facebook has done to us as marketers.
I've seen that as well with even digital marketing, right? Even with digital marketing customers, right? Where they have a good ad, it works for a while, and then they don't know why it falls off. But that's when kind of our job is like to look at the frequency, right? It's like eventually the ad, you have to be creating new things, you have to be testing new things. You just can't expect it to keep working forever. And so that's what I kind of found. But it's what I was going to say with the Facebook aspect is you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. And I think that's why it's important. So something innovative that I've kind of worked on through my digital marketing experience is instead of running ads to the website, which I think 99% of people do, I was like, how can we lower our acquisition costs and increase the lifetime value of our customers? And obviously that's going to be growing an email list, right? If Facebook collapses, if you have a big email list, you can still bring in some revenue. So I started creating multiple landing pages, again, coming back to testing, multiple landing pages, having reviews at different parts of, the page, stuff like that. And I've been running ads to that page to get them to subscribe. And I've been building out the subscriber list. So I'm kind of thinking a little more long-term, building that foundation before you can go up kind of thing. And it's just
more about like basically taking care of what you already have, and then later on thinking about acquisition of more customers. Right.
Exactly. Right. Like I think people just expect to run ads and make money, and there's a lot of nurturing that's involved that it takes effort, it just does. And I think that's why it's important to kind of, if you enjoy doing it, you know what I mean? That's why it's very important.
The customers that you already have, basically.
Because you also never know. I mean, that's what's wild too, is one customer could come back 5 times, you know what I mean? And so you have to treat every customer that's important. And even if you're starting off with 3 email subscribers, those 3 don't know that they're the only 3. So you have to write each email as if you have 10,000 email subscribers or 50,000, right? You have to be professional. You have to follow up with customer service. And that's something that I'm happy to kind of explain, over the next, 6 months to a couple of years with you guys on these podcasts, just to help people, as a lot of things change as you grow, and there's a lot of growing pains involved. And I know for me, it's very easy to get spread out, and there's only a finite amount of time in the day, and you have to prioritize where that time is best spent. And that's why it's also important growing a good team. You know what I mean? And also,
here I would like to answer another question that comes to us again and again. Our clients say that, let's say we are hiring you as a marketing agency. So now everything is dependent on you. So how, like, just tell us how much dependency is it on the marketing agency as well as from the other aspects? Because see, you and I and Ashwin, we know that it's not just about the marketing, it's about customer service. It's about, again, what is the quality of the goods? And there are so many aspects that we can talk about. But when like the mindsets of these prospects or, the client says, okay, now we have hired an agency, we are successful. It is you and I know it's not. So just tell a bit more about that part of it.
Yeah. And like what I would say is, if you hire an agency, get ready to work more, right? Because their job is to bring you more eyeballs, more clients, which is only going to increase the customer service. It's only going to increase the amount of data for hopefully the CEO and the executive team to make decisions off of. It's going to increase fulfillment. That means reorders and stuff like that, right? And when you start talking about reorders, that means how can you streamline that to keep profitability even? You don't want to be super profitable one month and then have to spend a bunch of inventory the next month and be all out of whack, right? You want to try and streamline that. So I would personally say when you hire an agency, you should get ready to be more focused. It shouldn't be like a step
Your
back.
involvement with the agency is important, right?
For sure.
You
And
can't
that's also on the
you can't simply
agency.
delegate the job to the agency and just forget about it. Like you need to be involved with the agency. You need to tell them what to do because the agency cannot figure out what your business is all about.
Exactly. And it's one of those things where like an agency would know digital marketing, right? But you still need to get them the content. You need to get them the keywords. You need to get the data back from them. What are you seeing? What are you not, to make decisions off of? And so it's one of those things. I look at it very similarly to hiring someone, to be honest with you, is that when you hire someone, they hopefully will eventually take work off your plate, but you have to train them. You have to be, communicating with them. And it's not one of those things where I know exactly where people just hire an agency and they think like the marketing's done, and it's definitely not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll just increase the eyeballs, the views, and the traffic and the impressions to the website so you can work more. That's kind of
Exactly. And that's where I think most people are getting this wrong these days. They think, okay, I have hired this agency, now my job is done. Now I will focus on, getting another business or, other stuff. But it does not happen like that. And that's
exactly,
why I think, in our industry, in digital marketing, all over, if I talk about, that's where there is so much high iteration rate in terms of the clients, because the expectation of the clients and the newbies that come into the industry, they both meet and then they mix up the things. And that's where I
exactly,
think things go wrong.
exactly.
Right.
And I know we both have agencies here, so I'm not gonna bash agencies, but one thing that I think is really important is the communication on both ends, right?
Right.
Is being transparent. And I think agencies need to be more upfront, I think, with clients, because I've had bad experience with agencies, and that's why I've started my own to try to change that, obviously. But
Right.
a lot of times they're just happy to kind of take the money and just hit play on the ads, and that's about it. And I think it's important for them. You have to be on top of the marketing agency as well as a client. It's also how much
Exactly.
you care about your company. Do you know what I mean? It's like some
Agree.
people look to get rich quick, and other people look to grow for the long term.
Yeah, that is where we have been, kind of categorical. Like if we realize that we wouldn't be able to generate any results, we say no to that business rather than taking it
And
and
it's one of those things too, right? Like marketing is a big umbrella, and so there's obviously digital marketing in this day and age is very important. But one aspect that really clicked with me when the Google Ads got suspended was I'm like, okay, I got to think outside the box here. So that's where I started attacking retailers very heavy, and now we've partnered with an 80 $100 million retailer here, and that's one of those things where that's where the agency client needs to communicate, because maybe at the beginning we're just running conversions ads or awareness campaigns to get traffic to the website. But now that I'm kind of changing my business model and going more retailers, maybe we should turn on more retargeting ads, right? And that's where the client needs to be transparent with you, because it's like now the traffic is their marketing, right, and bringing clients in. So the traffic's going to come to us. Let's retarget and remarket them, and shift it. Where if they're not transparent with you, you have no idea, and you could be missing out on a good amount of clients, right? So
Right.
yeah,
And it happens in most of the cases. This happens. Clients are not transparent, and then the agency becomes like that, and then at the end things go haywire.
that's what's tough
Right.
too. It's like maybe you're doing a good job and you're running ads, but if they're not sending out emails, if they're not following up with customer service, if they can't be surprised if their business isn't succeeding. Another thing I've noticed too is I always thought, growing up, right, like there would be one big catalyst to really scale the company. And the more I've learned, it's not like that at all. It's one sale, it's getting to one sale a day, then it's getting to two, and then to three. You're never, like, I wouldn't say never, but it's very rare you're just going to have some crazy spike unless you have a great connection with an influencer or run a crazy campaign. It's one of those things, the slow growth. And that's what's important, and something that we're touching on is, now that we've had a very profitable first month, I personally sent emails to all those customers and said, what did you like? What did you not like? I've offered them a $50 gift card to the website to hop on a phone call with me, to just basically, we care about our product and we care about your experience. And as we release new products, we want to make sure it's something that you enjoy, right? And so that's the extra step and the extra touch that I'm doing with this company that I didn't do in the past. And I personally think it's going to see volumes, because I think from a customer's point of view, they feel like they're appreciated, they're noticed. Do you know what I mean? And now that their feedback means something. And then from our point of view, we can create products that we know are going to sell and that people want. And at the same time, a $50 gift card, this comes back to the cost and the margins, we'll still make money if they come back and use that gift card. So it's looking at the data and looking at the numbers that make sense, and then going that extra mile to make sure that they're happy with it. You know, a lot of people have a product and just they're like, why isn't it selling? You know, and a lot of times it takes that extra outreach, because I've noticed a lot of sales have come through influencers. That was just a DM away. You know, it was just a
Right.
DM. And sometimes I was thinking the other day, I'm like, there's big influencers that you don't think they're going to see your DMs. You don't think they're going to notice you, but why not just try, right? And that's another thing too. It's like maybe someone has a big TikTok platform, but maybe their Facebook, they only have 100 followers or something. You know, kind of think outside the box and message them other ways. Find a friend of theirs, message the friend, get in touch with the friend. Like, there's ways to think around it besides sending a DM to some famous person and being like, oh, they didn't read it, you know?
Right.
It's about consistency and persistence for sure.
Right.
I agree. I agree. And that's where most e-commerce brands, they just start and they fail, because people have expectation. I will just start the ads, my brand will take off, and then it's done. Because Instagram shows you it that way. Even when I started my drop shipping store earlier, I was like this. We will just start the ads. Once the ads work, it's all automated, and I will just take bag in the money and go away. So it's
Yeah.
not like to give the insight to our audience. It takes a lot of effort, omni-channel approach, talking to influencer, ads, emails, SEO, and whatnot. Even your website experience matters, because if first customers come to your website and they get confused, they will just run away. So a
So
lot
the
of
whole
things matter.
combo meal, it's like the McDonald's combo meal.
Yeah,
You need
Yep.
your Coke, you need your fries, and you along with your burger.
Yeah.
right.
Right.
Sure.
So Brandon, let's talk about the your present project. Like, what are the setbacks that you've faced, and like how we have how you overcame them? Like, let's elaborate them a little bit. Uh,
Yeah, that's interesting. I think the main setback for me right now is not being on Google. Just getting because with the product, right, you have, you know, search ads, display ads, shopping ads. I mean, it's important to be on Google. And I'm looking at different avenues right now of, like, you know, running a few Bing ads, obviously, that appear and everything. But I almost, and maybe it's just my mindset, but I kind of use it to my advantage. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let's think of other ways. And that's where I've started to target more retailers on wholesale orders. And I honestly think when I look at that approach, a lot of people are doing what I'm doing in ecom, but I don't think they're getting in the ground floor in retail. And and there's online retailers too, right? There's online retailers and brick and mortar retailers, and they're doing the marketing for me in a way. And it also gives me more credibility to approach. Once you close one retailer, it's easier to close the second to the third to the fourth, right? But then at the same time, I start looking at repeating business. If I can get, you know, 3 or 4 retailers to have another purchase order every month, now you start covering your costs pretty significantly, which hopefully will then pay to unlock Google and everything like that. But I think sometimes people, and I think this just comes from experience for me, but sometimes people, and I know I had the same issue, right? They're a little more narrow focused. They think I can just spend money on ads and it'll drive traffic and get revenue. There's other ways to grow a business, and not to think old school, but like it clearly worked in the past, right? I'm not saying like take out a newspaper ad or something like that, but there's other ways of business to go about it. And sometimes when I look at these setbacks, I actually look at them as positives.
mm,
But I haven't, to be honest, had a lot of setbacks. I think the manufacturing R&D stuff is a little difficult, but just this past week we hired this guy that has a whole team in Shenzhen, so that should definitely help. Um, and I've definitely focused more on, I think more entrepreneurs do, is there's always going to be problems, but I focus on the solutions. And it's something that I've noticed recently, even just with friends and family. You know, if like a tree falls through the roof, people will be like, oh my gosh, I'll think of like, okay, how do we solve this? Like, you know what I mean? And I think it's important to, you're always going to run into setbacks, even in life, right? With relationships and, you know, hardships and stuff like that. It's important to focus on the solutions, because focusing on the problem isn't going to get you anywhere closer to your goal, you
no.
know?
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it's really been the digital being suspended was a big one. Um, and then I think it's not really a setback, but right now I'm kind of at the stage where we're growing the company. So I'm very hands on and doing a lot of work. I know a big stage will be when I start to have to delegate, and um, making sure the quality control is there, making sure the customer service is up to my standards, but yet I'm not the one doing it will be interesting. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mhm. So,
Yep.
what are the future plans right now about scaling up? Like, what are your next 5 moves, if I may put it in the right way?
That's a secret, you know? um, Yeah, no. So right now everything's very smooth, and it's also, I guess, to come back to making sure you don't jump the gun, because right now our ads are at a very good ratio, and it was that little trigger inside me. It's like, well, we could increase ad spend and we could make more. And to me, it's like, no, like let the ads and the pixel optimize for another month or so, right? Keep that ratio good. See what ads are working before increasing money. You want to see what's working. But for me, it's more focused on the retail side of things and building out the product line. I feel like we have a very good customer base right now, to where if we can increase the quality of our products, it's only going to bring in more business on its own. And then setting up more retail connections, it's going to like build that foundation and that base. And then I think the third step on top of that would be ramping up the ads and starting to delegate. And actually, I wanted to bring that up, Anmo. I think I might be looking at coming to Dubai next year, hopefully. So it'd
Wow.
be nice to connect.
So our trip is set, right?
Yeah.
I'll definitely keep you
At
posted,
last, Dubai is gonna happen.
because it's one of those things where I always wanted to go to Dubai for just obviously for for fun and beauty and stuff like that. But there's a lot of business I can do there as well.
Yeah.
Great.
And so once the financials make sense, it's definitely something that that we try to do, because I've noticed in definitely the jewelry and timepiece industry, it's pretty international, more than I
Yes.
actually thought, to be honest with you. I would
Right.
say probably 50 or 60% of our clients are international right now. So
Mhm.
that's something that I'm definitely jumping on. But I would say, yeah, retailers, product, and then ads, and then we'll see from there. So
Amazing.
Of course, of course. Yeah. But yeah, in this episode, I think you have given a lot of insights into about e-commerce brand. You have busted a lot of myths, because like I will always going further reference this episode to all the prospects that come to us. You watch this before talking into our getting our services, because it's really important for an entrepreneur to understand that just hiring an agency won't give them the success. And even with your case, like you have experiences, we have explained it in you know such
yep.
detail that it takes a lot of effort, and not just going to one channel and doing stuff there. It's about
I would also recommend business owners as well, as like there's a lot going on and you want to delegate, but taking the time, and that's what happened with me, taking the time to learn ads, how they work, learn keywords, you'll then have a better idea of what the agency is doing for you. And it's really important to read that stuff. It's like kind of the heart and soul of the business is the data, right?
I
So
agree.
and sometimes it's like, look, like a lot of the times you can do it yourself as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like especially in the beginning, it doesn't take a lot of money, and you honestly in the beginning, like you can't test a significant amount of content, right? Because if you with a small budget, it's not going to maximize as well. So a lot of things you can kind of start at the beginning, and I think it's important to have an idea, so when you do hire and delegate work, you understand at least what's going on, instead of just completely, like, even fulfillment. I handled fulfillment until a point where I was like, this doesn't make sense. I partnered with 3PL and now they're handling it. And so, but at least I understand the whole fulfillment process. Do you know what
Right.
I mean? I know the SKUs, I know how everything is packaged, how everything's shipped. It's important to know all aspects of your business. I was going to say one thing before finishing up is I want to touch on too is mindset. I think is really important, because
Yes.
a lot of people in business don't necessarily focus on that. They focus on the business. What I've found, I guess, in my life, but the past, 4 or 5 years, is the importance of mindset and self-discipline. And it's something I work on consistently, but I've found, and I know a lot of people talk about it, but if your diet and, workout routine is steady and even, it's only going to reflect in your business.
Agree.
It's the best way to go about it, right? It's like, make sure you're reading, get knowledge, meditate, relax your mind.
Right.
It's very hard to turn off your mind sometimes as an entrepreneur,
That
but
is
it's
very
definitely
important because
important to
people
meditate.
panic and they the panic button when it goes off, then that's when things go wrong. Right?
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And when you start
yeah.
panicking, that's when you have to go back into the solution mindset, you know? And it's one of those things, if you can't turn it off, you're better off closing your computer and going somewhere else, because I think those thoughts and that energy it's not good. And same with like people will refresh, right? Like, is there more sales? Is there more sales? It's like, don't focus on that in desperation, right? Think of building, and that's what comes back to your passion, right? Think of what you would want to see, what you would want to do. But I definitely wanted to touch on the mindset and the importance of the body, right? Because without your mind, you can't come up with ideas
True.
or execute and stuff like that. So it's important
Right.
that people, obviously you can go and enjoy yourself and have a drink and everything like that, but make sure to check your lifestyle. And when it starts getting a little too whack or not as disciplined, it's important to bring it back to center.
True.
I 1000% agree with this point.
Yeah. Yes.
It's all about the discipline, consistency, and how your body works.
Because
If
what
you're
I've kind
not,
of seen too, and that's where social media has been so bad, I think, is like
yeah,
you look at some of these successful people and it looks like they're just smoking cigars and driving cars all day. And a lot of people, they'll put in, 8 hours of work and be like,
Yeah.
oh, I need a drink or I need to relax. And it's important to find other vices that are positive and benefiting to where you want to go in life. It's
right,
it's only going to compound, because I found, at least with this company, is I'm at the point now where I have so many things on my plate that needs to get done. I don't really have time to like just relax or just, take a night off kind of thing. And that's why I think it's important, when you're disciplined in your diet and disciplined in working out and disciplined with sleep and stuff, when it's your body, you then
right.
become disciplined in how to organize your work. And it's super important.
Another unhealthy habit that people have, apart from drinking and all, like, is overthinking and getting
Mhm.
depressed about small failures.
Yep.
That is where people, they start. That is where the panic happens. The panic attacks
Yeah,
start coming.
exactly,
Take a
exactly.
wrong decision, and
Yep. And that's why kind of why I touched on the aspect of like, don't necessarily look for the one thing that just is going to take off, because more likely than not it's not going to. And I had that experience recently when we partnered with this retailer. We soft launched, but so we're not, haven't like marketed it yet, but we soft launched, and just based off data, again, I was expecting a lot more sales, and it's something that kind of humbled me a little bit. But that's when you switch on the solutions, you're like, okay,
Right.
how can we focus on other things? Let's get more retailers. Let's do this. And it's something where you can't be like, we have this one influencer and this is going to be it. And then when it doesn't work, you can't get down on yourself.
You get depressed. This happens a lot. This happens a lot.
I find the consistent, there's a quote I really like, and it goes, the hungriest dog runs the fastest. And the
true,
way I kind of like picture that is consistency and persistence wins every time. The tortoise and the hare, it's like, there's a lot of people that are so pumped up and they start a business within 3 6 months. It's like, what's happened to it? Where if you got
Right.
the guy that just is consistent every day, knows what to do every day, it'll eventually compound. And like I said, you go from one sale a day to two to three to four, and it
For
builds up.
someone that might be 1 month, for someone it might be 6 months, and for someone it might be a year or so.
yes,
So that people
true.
need to understand that their everyone's
Yeah.
path is different. They need not to compare it from someone else.
I was gonna say that's a great point. And I think that's what's awful about social media in a way. I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, but you can't compare your life to other people. I even
Right.
see it with, having kids and getting married and all that kind of stuff. It's like, because I'm kind of at that age, and it's like, I have another different focus. It's important to know what you want and to go after it. And that's what will bring you fulfillment, is not comparing to other people and trying to live someone else's life.
Exactly. Couldn't
Yep.
agree.
Yep.
Nice. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's any other tips and stuff, but I'll definitely guys keep you posted on the
I think
success, because
you've covered it all, Brandon. I think this was a great
Yeah.
podcast that
And I
we
think this much information is good for audience
yeah,
because
we
they will
covered
need
pretty
some
much all
time
the
to digest
aspects,
it.
including
yeah.
their
And because
mindset and
I also want to say that it's like, to everyone listening, it's I'm still learning too. I'm still going through it, and you might think I'm farther ahead than you or whatnot, but I was like just in that position. I've been through a lot of failures.
true.
And I've made mistakes that I've learned from, and it's tough, right? Like my first company, Rose Gold Apparel. I mean, I had like $160,000 in inventory just sitting like unmoved, and that's when you kind of take a step back and you're just like, what did I do wrong here? And so that's why on this next business model, it's tough because at this point it's like we could just make more product and everything, but I'm not trying to get in the same situation. And that comes back to the customer feedback and really nurturing and getting the right the data, so I know what products to make next and not rush it. I think it's very easy to want to rush it, and it's important to execute and be moving, but not in a full sprint, because you can't sprint forever, but you can go for a long jog. You know what I mean?
Right, right, totally.
It's important to pace yourself. Exactly. And know
Right.
what you want to do, right? So I have pretty big visions with this on I want to grow a successful e-commerce, but then I'm already kind of thinking about how can I acquire the other businesses in the space like 10 years from now. That's kind of like my vision is how can I buy these people up, even keep the company, right? But just own some of the profit share. And I'm thinking a lot bigger like that. So for me, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And sometimes I think people don't necessarily know their end destination. They just like want to make money, or they don't even know how much. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where it's easy to get disappointed when you don't see the money coming in for a while. It's like you just lose hope, and it's not sustainable.
There are no set goals. Yes, true.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Well, I kind of have a little quote too. I mean, that is a good one, but I hear a lot of goals, right? Especially around like New Year's. But I like to say I don't set goals, I set plans,
True.
because to me, I know like for me, like it's more of a weight loss journey thing for me. But like when I set a goal and I hit it, I then feel like yay, and then you kind of go back to your old ways. Where
True.
if I have a plan of just like every day, I found it's a little more consistent.
Right.
Right.
But no, having those goals is important, and know different milestones and where you want to be. That's I think the main thing that I'm still trying to learn is I don't know like how much in the law of attraction and stuff some of these viewers are, but the visualization when I first started this company, I visualized this retailer that we just partnered with, and it was weird. I mean, I believe in law of attraction, but I didn't really like see anything happen until that, and I was like, wow, I literally had the thought and it happened. And now I'm trying to find like how precise can I be with those goals to know that
Right.
I'm like hitting them, because even when it comes to like cars and money and stuff like that, it's like, what do you actually want? Do you know what I mean? Like
Mm.
down to the T, what do you actually want? It's something that I'm still kind of striving. It's like, I want a family and I want kids, but like at what age? Like, where do I want to live? Like, it's like knowing exactly where you want to be. I think it gives you something to work towards and know if you're making progress.
True.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot. I just
No, no, no. I mean, and that was a good way to end this podcast. That's a great quote. Yes, it is all about the journey. You plan your journey, you reach one milestone, and then you think about going to another destination.
and it'll
Not
change as you go
yes,
along, right?
Exactly.
I know some people that are like, you want to make $100 million, but then they make 1 or 2 million, and they're like, you know what? I want to have a family. I want to settle down, and your goals and
true.
priorities can change.
Yeah. Anytime it can change. I agree with you.
Exactly, exactly. Well, it's been a
So
pleasure, guys.
we're
Yeah.
gonna stick around. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So I
Well,
think,
yes.
yeah, Ashwin. So you end this episode.
No, no. Yeah, I was about to say. I'll let you conclude this. Please go ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
can
I
go on all day. I can go on all
this
day. So
episode was something which was really great for our audience, for people who are pondering into an idea that they want to get into e-commerce space. So this episode is can be the direction to start with it, because this episode will give them the deep thinking of it. So the audience that is watching right now, I if you have any questions, you can reach out to us or Brandon through our social media channels. I will mention those in the description, as well as you can comment down if you have anything. We will get back to you as soon as possible. And
Yes.
I was gonna add, yeah, my Instagram is Brandon James Rose. I'm busy, but if you send me a DM, I have a soft spot for people that are passionate and hardworking, and I'll definitely try to give feedback and help out where I can.
There
exactly.
you go.
So if yeah. So that's it from my end to our audience for today. If you have any questions, reach out to us. And thank you so much for watching this episode. We will be back again soon with another episode with Brandon. And stay tuned for more. And thank you so much for watching. See
Thank
you.
you, guys.
Goodbye.
Appreciate having me.
Bye.
Talk soon. Bye.